Fyodor Dostoevsky was not only a great writer, but also one of the most profound thinkers to influence modern philosophy. His works do not merely reflect his contemporary society, they penetrate the darkest corners of the human soul, where reason cannot reach. Dostoevsky does not simply tell stories. He forces us to confront our inner chaos, the contradictions between our desires and fears. He poses unsettling questions. Do humans truly seek happiness? Or do we pursue it only to destroy it ourselves? In Notes from Underground, Dostoevsky portrays a character who torments himself not out of a lack of happiness, but because of an obsession with absolute freedom, a destructive instinct that reason cannot control. This is not just the story of a lonely outcast, it is the portrait of humanity itself, forever torn between idealism and irrational impulses. Dostoevsky also challenges the prevailing belief in progress. He rejects rationalism and warns against the illusion of ideologies that seek to eliminate suffering in order to create a perfect society. To him, humans cannot be tamed by reason alone, for deep within, we do not truly seek peace. We seek to assert ourselves, whether through suffering or chaos. This is why he remains one of the most influential thinkers for Nietzsche, Sartre, Camus, and even modern psychology. Dostoevsky does not merely write about humanity, he exposes it. And what he leaves behind is not just literature, but a mirror reflecting the truths we continuously try to evade. Dostoevsky did not just explore the darkness within the human soul. His own life was a series of tragedies that shaped his philosophy. Born into an Orthodox Christian family, he faced loss early on when his mother died of tuberculosis, and his father was mysteriously murdered. Witnessing suffering and injustice from a young age, he came to understand that humans are not merely victims of circumstance, but are also torn apart by deep internal conflicts. Initially pursuing a career in military engineering, his passion for literature soon led him down a different path. Though Poor Folk brought him early success, it quickly faded, plunging him into financial hardship. Failure after failure made him realize that tragedy is not only a product of fate, but also of the illusions people construct about themselves and the world. His worldview shifted dramatically after his arrest for associating with an intellectual socialist group. Standing before a firing squad, he experienced the fragile nature of existence, a moment that would define his entire life. At the last second, his sentence was revoked, and he was instead exiled to Siberia for 4 years. There, he witnessed human suffering in its rawest form and lost faith in revolutionary ideals. He came to see that humanity cannot be liberated through perfect social systems, but must confront its own inherent chaos. Upon returning from Siberia, Dostoevsky was no longer a dreamer. He no longer believed in revolutions, but in the inner struggle of the individual. And from that realization, his greatest masterpieces were born. If life is a tragedy, then Dostoevsky was not merely an observer, but a man who delved into its depths to expose the truth. Having abandoned illusions of an ideal society, he did not seek salvation in political systems or rational philosophy, but instead turned inward, to the human psyche, where contradictions can never be resolved. His works are not just reflections of reality, they are philosophical treatises on human nature. We do not truly desire happiness, we do not understand ourselves. And suffering is not something to be avoided, but perhaps the only path to enlightenment. In Notes from Underground, Dostoevsky creates an unnamed character who dwells in a realm of bitterness, contradiction, and resentment. He is not constrained by society, but instead condemns himself to a self-imposed exile of negation. The most unsettling aspect is not that he suffers, but that he wants to suffer. This is a direct rebuttal to the 19th century rationalist belief that humanity could be perfected through science, technology, and structured social order. To Dostoevsky, this is a dangerous illusion. People do not seek perfection. They seek control, power, and at times even chaos. Nietzsche later reached a similar conclusion. The deepest human drive is not happiness, but the assertion of will, even when it leads to self-destruction. But Dostoevsky does not stop at abstract reflections on the irrational nature of man. He pushes further into the question of morality and freedom. In Crime and Punishment, Raskolnikov is the embodiment of a man driven to the extreme by logic. He commits murder not out of hatred or emotion, but for a completely rational reason. If the weak do not deserve to exist, then the strong have the right to determine their fate. Yet, the moment he commits the crime, he ceases to be a rational being. He is tormented by the very humanity he sought to deny. Guilt, fear, and relentless nightmares. To Dostoevsky, reason alone cannot define morality, for if we rely solely on it, we lose our humanity. Man cannot escape his conscience, and those who believe they can cross the boundary between right and wrong through logical justification will soon realize that the greatest punishment comes not from the external world, but from within themselves. But if reason cannot be our guide, then what can? If humans are forever torn between good and evil, and if no objective moral framework can guide us, is there a path to salvation? Dostoevsky's answer differs from that of Camus or Sartre, who chose to accept absurdity and rebel against it. In The Brothers Karamazov, he presents a dialogue between two extremes: Ivan, who rejects God because he cannot accept the existence of suffering, and Alyosha, who embraces it as an inherent part of life. This is not merely a religious debate, but a deeply philosophical question. Is suffering something to be eradicated, or is it the very path to meaning? Dostoevsky does not deny the absurdity of the world, but he does not see it as a reason to abandon belief in something greater. If man cannot find absolute truth through reason, he must seek it in something beyond it: faith, love, and forgiveness. While Nietzsche proclaimed that man must kill God to become stronger, Dostoevsky foresaw a different reality. When humanity loses religion, it does not become freer, but instead falls into nihilism, lost within its own chaos. So, do we truly desire happiness? If happiness means relinquishing power, control, and pain, then perhaps the answer is no. Dostoevsky does not offer easy answers, but he makes one thing clear: humanity cannot escape itself, and only by accepting its flawed, suffering nature can it hope to discover the truth. Dostoevsky not only exposed the irrational nature of humanity, but also fiercely criticized the illusions that mankind harbors about creating a perfect society. If his works serve as a mirror reflecting the human soul, they are also a warning against the dangerous ambitions of reshaping the world through reason and progress. He did not believe in the promises of utopianism, because for him, no social reform can eliminate suffering, it can only change its form. Idealists often believe that a better world can be designed through political, scientific, or philosophical systems. But Dostoevsky saw the danger in this belief. Any ideology that promises a paradise on earth carries the potential to turn into a nightmare. He did not deny that humanity can and should strive to improve its conditions. But the problem lies in the fact that idealistic systems often forget the contradictory nature of human beings. When a society is built on the notion of perfection, it leaves no room for flaws, weaknesses, or the inherent chaos of human existence. And when a system cannot tolerate chaos, it will seek to eradicate it, leading inevitably to tyranny, violence, and oppression in the name of the greater good. Dostoevsky did not only critique utopianism, but also expose the limitations of technology and science. Modern humans often place blind faith in technological progress, believing that advancements in science can solve all of humanity's problems. But Dostoevsky, with his sharp foresight, anticipated a future where humans risk becoming mere machines programmed for happiness. He warned that if people are defined by rigid technical systems and guided by inflexible rational formulas, they will lose their very essence. Heidegger later echoed a similar perspective. Science and technology are merely tools, but if we allow them to dictate how we live, we will become alienated beings, functioning mechanically without the ability to question the meaning of our existence. However, Dostoevsky was not entirely pessimistic. He did not believe that religion was dead, but neither did he advocate for a rigid, dogmatic faith. For him, religion was not about external rules, but an individual journey, where each person seeks meaning through embracing suffering and confronting their inner contradictions. This perspective aligns closely with Kierkegaard's belief that faith is neither easy nor rational, but rather a leap beyond the absurdity of life. One cannot prove the existence of God or an absolute truth through reason, but one can choose to believe as an act of transcending that absurdity. For Dostoevsky, the issue is not whether humanity can build a better society, but whether it truly understands itself before attempting to change the world. If we continue to chase illusions of perfect order, Without recognizing that imperfection, chaos, and suffering are fundamental to our nature, we will endlessly repeat the mistakes of history. Dostoevsky does not offer easy solutions, but he leaves behind a profound warning. The greatest danger is not chaos. It is the belief that we can eradicate it. Looking at the modern world, we can see that Dostoevsky's warnings still resonate. We continue to pursue a perfect society, believing that advancements in technology, science, and politics can eliminate all suffering. But has the world truly become a better place, or are we merely lost in a new labyrinth? One where digital connectivity breeds isolation, where modern conveniences lead to emptiness, and where the more choices we have, the more confused we become about who we truly are. The nihilism Dostoevsky warned about has not disappeared. If anything, it has grown stronger. People are still struggling to find meaning in a world that seems to have lost faith in anything lasting. So, what is the most important lesson we can learn from Dostoevsky? Perhaps it is the acceptance that human nature is inherently contradictory. We are neither entirely good nor entirely evil. We crave happiness, yet we find ways to destroy it. We long for freedom, yet fear the responsibility that comes with it. Instead of trying to erase this chaos, Dostoevsky invites us to face it, to live with it, and to understand that this very inner conflict is what defines us. Suffering is not merely something to be avoided. It is a mirror that reflects who we truly are if we have the courage to look into it. But if we do not truly know what we want, if happiness is not really what we seek but merely an illusion we create to hide our inner contradictions, then what is the real purpose of life? If every attempt to eliminate suffering only leads to another form of suffering, are we trapped in an endless cycle? These questions have no easy answers, and perhaps that is precisely Dostoevsky's point. Life is not an equation to be solved with pure logic, but a paradox we must learn to live with. And if you too are searching for answers or simply wish to dive deeper into the hidden corners of the human psyche, don't forget to like and subscribe to continue exploring these profound ideas. Because, as Dostoevsky once suggested, humans do not live merely to exist, they live to understand themselves. And sometimes, the only way to truly understand is to keep asking questions.